the audience's reaction was just fabulous. I came out one day and the audience had gone, and I was really thinking, oh great, I can relax now. And I saw this woman coming up along the outside the theatre, and she ran into me and she just hugged me and just held me. And it was really very moving. It made me feel, because something happened to her. Something happened to her. And that's what you get when you're sort of inside something and you've made a connection to the audience.
Hey there, it's Connor Muller and welcome to Let's Chat Showbiz. This podcast is all about Australian showbiz. We're talking the glitz, the glam, the tough times and everything in between. Let's get this show on the road. Today's guest is an Australian actress that has built an extraordinary career spanning more than 4 decades, appearing in countless productions across stage, film and television. With an extensive career of credits to her name, it is a pleasure to welcome the fabulous Genevieve Mooy. Welcome, Genevieve.
Thank you, Connor.
It's lovely to have you here.
Oh, it's lovely to be here.
Thank you. Now, in 1982, you were a graduate of NIDA, is that correct? How did that become? How did you get into NIDA? Did you always want to be in the industry growing up?
I had a secret little dream tucked away, but I came from a town called Tamworth in northwest New South Wales, and I was sent by my English teacher to the Retreat Theatre, which was there, and I met Tony Martin, who was an actor, well-known actor, and we went to a sort of drama camp, but that was, I just left school. Then I went nursing, and in Sydney, at the Macquarie Street Hospital, and in that process, trying to pass my exams, I joined an amateur theatre company called the Roxburgh, and that's where I met Genevieve Lemon, and she directed me in a play once, which I remember. And Bill Pepper was there, who was quite formidable as a voice coach, particularly in relation to theatre and Shakespeare. And he worked at NIDA at some stage. But as a joke, we all decided to audition for NIDA, and we happened to get in. 3 of us happened to get in. So it was a real shock. But it was great because, and then the real work had to start. But that theatre company was really seminal for me because I did a lot of pub theatre, I did a lot of street theatre, I did a lot of Pinter and some Shakespeare, and it was really, it gave me an enormous boost and great confidence.
Yeah, wow. And you mentioned that Genevieve Lemon, we had Genevieve on in a previous episode.
I know.
Have you worked with Genevieve many times since then?
No.
Oh, wow, really?
No, our paths have diverged. I think she's the most wonderful actress and the funniest person that I know.
100%.
And I remember seeing her in Jane Campion's film, the last one that she did, and Genevieve was explaining how to fold a napkin. And it was I just thought it was so wonderful and delicious and sort of subversive. And I just think she's brilliant. But we didn't cross paths because she went a different direction. She didn't go to NIDA. And, Yeah.
Now, you've done a lot of stage and screen work. Let's start with your screen credits. Now, there's a show that I think is absolutely brilliant. I haven't seen much of it, but the episodes I have seen, called Special Squad. Now, you did one episode of Special Squad. Do you remember filming that and what that was like?
I do remember, yes, vaguely. Gary Sweet.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And Gary Sweet was highly excitable and very frisky, I might say. And I remember at one stage, he started chasing me up the stairs, and I thought, oh, is this what happens on a Special Squad? But it was really, that was kind of, those programs are really important for you as an actor because you just get this one chance to really kind of get the mechanics of that kind of developing a character very quickly, working with the director, working with Gary Sweet, who kept chasing me up the stairs, and it was terrific. But that's all you remember. I just remember that moment.
Gary Sweet.
Oh my God!
And that show had like so many of Australian actors as guest roles. It was a very big show for actors back in that time.
Well, they were so important. That those shows were really important in Australia because there's so few, and at that time, you know, making something that has drive and that is successful and that works, and that was really up to those lead characters that really shone.
Now, from 1994 to 1995, you played Jen Whelan in Frontline. Can you tell me about that character and the memories of being on set?
Oh, it was magic because there was just a description of that character, which was power shoulders suit, you know, red. That was kind of it. And I just had this fantastic memory of this agent that I used to go and see. And she used to come down the stairs when all the actors were waiting to do their audition. And she'd come and she'd pick somebody out and she'd just go, "Oh, darling, how are you?" And she'd embrace you and make a really big fuss. And so that I used her as a model, as a sort of way in. And that kind of stuck. And then she had this English accent, and of course, it developed into this character. And that's the wonder of them, because they kind of picked up on that. And Rob Sitch was really wonderful to work with, because I mostly had to work with him because he was the director, the main director. But as a team, they were a beautiful team. And we just celebrated the 30th anniversary, and all those beautiful people, particularly the women. There were a lot of women producers that were behind that show that made it an enormous success. Jane Kennedy was one of that, you know, that team. And Michael Hirsch's wife, and all these people that were really important for making that show work, because it was groundbreaking, because we had no rehearsal. I mean, of course, that's common now. You don't have any rehearsal, but you shoot whatever you're doing, which is a rehearsal, essentially. And if that works, well and good, it's in the can and you're off and running. So often I had to fly in from Sydney every 2 weeks and just go. And that was so exciting. Yeah. You know, because you didn't have any time. You had to get out of your own way and just move, you know, and do it.
Yeah, right.
Marvellous. Beautiful show.
Now, you played Mrs. Jamison in the film Thank God He Met Lizzie. Now, which you played the mother of Richard Roxburgh's character, and of course, filmed scenes with Cate Blanchett as well. What was that experience like for you? It
was really important. Anytime you have a sort of, you work with the top tier, the people who are regarded as your elites, I suppose, your peers, you learn an enormous amount. And you don't have, because you've got small characters, support characters, you have to inject a great deal of backstory, life, make it work. And you have to be able to interrelate with the people that you're supposed to be the mother of, you know, and the whatever. And Richard Roxburgh and Cate Blanchett were fantastic, because they support you and bring you in. They embrace you and make you feel part of the family, and that's so important. Because when you've had experiences where that hasn't happened, it's really tough. So I remember them saying, "What do you think she should do?" And there was a little scene where I came in, and it was so silly, and there was a bit of wallpaper that was off the wall, and I sort of stuck it back as I just had an impulse. And so things like that really work. But that also was very important, because I met a lot of other actresses of my who were older and in my arena, and getting close to them. It was like being on a ship doing that show. Yeah, wow. Cherie Nolan was the director. She was fantastic, and it was a really important piece, because it was the beginning. After that, Cate Blanchett was launched onto the international arena as a star. And so we made her a little pewter mug as a sort of farewell gift. Oh, wow. So it was really very important for everyone in the industry, and particularly for Richard and Cate.
Of course.
It was gorgeous.
Do you find it hard if you're coming into a long-running series or as a guest role? Do you find it challenging sometimes? You kind of spoke there about it a bit, but coming in and being the outsider, I guess. Can that be difficult at times?
Very difficult.
Yeah.
unless you're inducted, in the true sense, emotionally inducted, unless you're embraced and given space to explore, express, be connected, discuss. I've had lots of disastrous times with small parts in smaller films where you're just not taken care of at all, and so you've just got to survive. But that's the nature of the beast. You've in this business, you really have to have resilience. You've got to be able to pick yourself up. It's like any kind of art form. You've got to be really tough and keep moving through and not get bogged down in, they didn't take any attention, they didn't care. You just have to move through that and make it work. You have to make it work, basically.
And I guess on that, with auditions too, resilience, obviously you get knocked back.
All the time.
How do you bounce back and stay positive in that?
It's very good for you because it sort of grounds you. It brings you back to what is it that you're doing? What are the things that you learned in that small experience of, doing that audition, particularly with self-testing now, it's really fraught because it's more relaxing because you've got a chance to do it again and all that sort of thing. But still, you've got to make it work and you don't have any outside eye. It's your own eye. And so you're self-directing, which is not always, the most optional. But that's what it is. It's drawing you back to what are the things that I need to do next time? How can I make it work for myself? How can I empower myself to be in the moment more? How can I get stronger mentally to be able to deal with the process of being in that moment? There's a kind of an emotional preparation. Because it's interesting, when you get an audition, you start thinking, of course, and you're imagining and you're inventing and you're creating the sort of the role, if you like, and that's important. But you kind of not to let it run away with itself, and then come back to something that people will relate to, that comes from you, that's not something that's very strange and outside your realm. They're the things that you're sort of judging all the way. How can I keep this within the scope of something that's believable? That's believable.
Now, in the year 2000, you were in a very well-known film called The Dish. Now, just before we talk about that, one of your co-stars, of course, was Sam Neill, who we found out yesterday that we lost very suddenly. What are your memories of working with Sam?
He had a huge impact on that film. He was massive because he was a big star, and he was very connected to the Working Dog team. And he actually made that film, from my point of view, work for them because he was engaged in everything that happened in that film. And that's the kind of actor he is. If you want to, I remember a director said to me once, you've got to become a value-adding actor, which means that you come onto a project and you make it better because you bring so much to the table. You bring all these offerings, you're multifaceted. You can sing when you need to. You can, dance. You've got a good sense of humour. You're warm, all those kind of attributes. But he had all that and in spades. Very funny man, very witty, and very, very direct if things weren't working. But he was engaged in every single moment. And I think that film was a success really because of his input, because he was the one that had this international, reputation. He knew what it means to make a successful film. And he was there at every moment. So it was an amazing thing to make that film, because what the Working Dog team did was they created a kind of 3-week party. So you were kind of not sure when you were working or when you were off. You were off. You were kind of having fun for the whole time, and that was a great a great ploy because it created this wonderful relaxation and this great sense of camaraderie and joy, you know, and fun. It's really important to have fun. And that's what that film brings, this beautiful Tom Long, you know, this beautiful actor, and just brought this soul to the work. And that's what they do, Working Dog, is they give everyone a special place to actually be able to bring the very best and bring the secret parts of that character to bear. And it was a major turning point for me personally as an actor.
You mentioned there, obviously, Tom Long, and we talked about Sam Neill. You had other cast members too, Kevin Harrington, Roy Billing, Denise Roberts, lots of people. Do you have any memories of working with those guys as well?
Well, Roy played my husband, and he was divine and so beautiful and warm and funny. And, you know, when you just sort of snap together with someone and you now have a life, you know, you're supposed to have been married for so many years. So you've got to kind of, you know, make it work to look as though you have that intimacy. And he really was fabulous at that.
Yeah, wow.
It was great. And Kevin, of course, beautiful work. Everyone was made to shine, and that's all credit to Rob Sitch in many regards, is bringing the whole team into the world and creating this place where everybody exists and it feels true.
Yeah. Now, a couple of years ago, you played Lorraine Healy in Netflix's Wellmania. You played the mother of Celeste Barber's character. Now, is it true that Celeste was a former student of yours?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that kind of how you got the role in a way, or?
Well, somewhat, because she never forgot. Which she doesn't. I worked at the University of Western Sydney, at the school there, and it was a fantastic school, and it was one of the first days with Celeste coming into class, and she's a kind of joker and you know, a stand-up comedian 24/7. And I sort of made some mention that you know, keep all that energy for the actual work, something to that note, and she'd never forgotten it. And so, but we had a great time on that show. She was an enormous energy, and really it was her energy that actually made that whole thing work, because she's a real force. And that's something, when you say value adding, she's one of those people. She's just got all these facets that are extraordinary, and she brings everyone on board. And she was very much involved in who was in. And so it was a shame that it didn't go ahead. But we had a great time. And when you've got that chance as a character, as an actor, to explore over a long period, you do get to really relax and settle in and play into the role. And you don't often get that opportunity, but when you do, it's gold.
Do you ever get recognised in the street?
Well, people, not really, thank goodness.
Really?
But people say, I know you. And I say, oh, have we met somewhere? And they say, oh, I know. Well, where have we met before? So it's really funny.
And do you ever say, oh, I'm an actor?
Oh, well, sometimes when they keep asking, no, I'm sure. No, now where was it?
What school did your children go to?
So then we talk about it, and it's lovely. But it's not nothing. You know, I'm not asked a great deal, so it's good actually. I prefer it that way. Because when you have to become another character, you don't want that idea that the celebrity aspect of it. I'm not terribly interested in. That's really useful.
Now, coming up next month in August, you've been announced as a cast member in My Brilliant Career.
That's
you play the role of Miss O'Brien.
Miss O'Brien.
Can you tell us anything about that yet? You probably can't, but I'm going to ask you.
Well, look, it was really wonderful because, again, Anne Chancellor, she plays Mrs. Bossier, and she really brought me in. because I'm playing her housekeeper. And it's interesting when you come on to something in the middle of the series. Again, this is what we were talking about. It's really important to embrace, because otherwise you look like you're an outsider. And of course, there's that upstairs, downstairs aspect which that show has, which we were exploring somewhat. And she was fabulous because we had a wonderful chat. She really made you feel welcome, embraced the whole idea. And then because you've got these little pieces with her where you're joining one scene to another, so you're like a transitional kind of character. It's really important to create a little frisson, a little bit of excitement. So you're wanting some action. And she was very good at working. It's like a dance. You're kind of coming in and you've got, and then you've got nothing, and then you move. But you've got to get that line out really clearly. The joke, the inference, the relationship, the attitude. So all those things have to come together. And it often comes from your body because you've got corsets and, you're walking around like you're on a horse because you're got so much stuff on. So you've got to actually make that work too. Yeah. I remember one of the directors said to me, "Oh, you keep lifting up your dress," because I was outside. I was worried about that I would clip and, I didn't want to fall. And I thought, no, this woman's a housekeeper. She wouldn't be worried about that. Yeah. So that was really good direction. I thought, sorry, and just dropped that idea. But I loved being in that dress, and, but there was some beautiful work on that show. Philippa Northeast, who's the star of the show, gorgeous, playing Sybil. And then there's a wonderful girl, and her name I can't quite remember, but she's a new actress, and she played the maid. Oh, okay. And she was fabulous. I think she's going to be a great star, because she was really, it's exciting when you see new people coming up through the ranks and who wow, that's really outstanding work. So it was exciting. Yeah, very exciting. Now, you've obviously been in the industry for quite some time. Have you seen a change in television, like in terms of massive?
What sort of changes do you think?
Well, the streaming services now, that's a massive change in the sense of we're seeing many, many, many more actors worldwide. And so the market now is huge. The competition is enormous. And to actually get yourself in there as being a possible option, you've got to sort of really work much harder. And what's great now is there's many more opportunities particularly for female directors. That's fabulous. So it's not so dominated by the old school. And the stories are fantastic. People get to option books and all sorts of materials that can be created. And I saw a beautiful film the other day, the sound, the history of sound, and on Netflix. And it was just so beautiful, a small film about collecting folk songs during the Second World War. It was just fantastic. And so then you get to see these little gems that you wouldn't see in the cinema. I think the thing now with the cinema is they're really struggling with that thing at the moment. But I think it'll probably adjust, I hope, because the cinema is magic. And we don't want to lose that. But I think there's a bit of a struggle at the moment, definitely.
Do you think we lack shows? I mean, you've done guest appearances, little roles here and there in so many different shows. I mean, we used to have shows like Blue Heelers or Saints that require guest roles all the time. Do you think we lack a bit of that work?
Totally.
At the moment?
At the moment, we've hit we're at the bottom. There's a hole, and that's got a lot to do with funding. It's got a lot to do with investment in, again, the Australian story. A lot to do with caring about the Australian experience of their own culture. I mean, we keep hearing this trope about we need to see our own stories reflected, but there just isn't enough. And it's a bit scary actually at the moment.
Yeah.
I think there's a real problem. So then you think, okay, what I need to do then is start to create my own work.
Yeah.
And that's what I would like to start to do, is to invest in joining with people, developing teams to actually make work.
Yeah.
Sounds like a dream, but I think that's what has to happen, is more and more people have to start. And I've just noticed Mia Kowalski and several others have started to develop that concept of actually coming back and putting back into the industry. It's at a parlous state. I think it's in desperate states actually at the moment. Yeah.
Now, you've done quite a bit of stage work, of course, as well. Now, you did a one-woman show called Coral Brown, This Effing Lady. I'll say that nicely.
You can say that. You've said that nicely. I was wondering how I was going to say it.
Those that aren't familiar with Coral Brown, can you just give me a bit of a run-through of who she is and the research you did into playing that role as well?
Oh, my God, it was enormous.
Yeah.
That was the most exciting. You know, things come along in your life as an actor and it's a turning point. It's a great big year change.
Yeah.
That was one of the major events of my life, really, because doing a one-person show is big enough, but it was actually then co-editing, co-writing, doing the research and the rehearsal with the writer-director, Maureen Sherlock, which really galvanized the piece. And this woman, Coral Brown, she was from the 30s, came from Melbourne, and became a famous West End star in London, and then had this extraordinary life. But it was her incredible spirit. And she was very naughty, a little bit of a gutter mouth, but she was really a force to be reckoned with. And it was great to sort of bring together all those strands of her life and play it. And, you know, we had quite a successful season here at the Fringe. And then we went 45 downstairs in Melbourne, and that was a fabulous season. Yeah. And then Amanda Muggleton took it to London.
Yes.
And that was fabulous too.
Yeah, I saw Amanda do it at the Brunswick Ballroom in Melbourne. Just brilliant.
Yes.
I mean, seeing Coral's life, and it was just like, it just blew you away, really.
Yes,
like, it was just,
it does.
You walk out being like, oh my God.
What an extraordinary woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her gender was also very interesting because I think she was bisexual, and that was interesting too because she had relationships with men and women, and in those days, of course, it was you couldn't even talk about it. No. But that made her a really multifaceted kind of character because she kind of had a strength about her that was that made her into this extraordinary artist. And, you know, she went to Russia, all those things happened to her. And when I was doing the play in Sydney, Miriam Margolyes, I came out on stage and she was in the front row.
Oh my God.
And it was so exciting. And I've never had an experience where there's somebody that I really admire is right there. Yeah. She was right there with me. She was right in it because she knows Coral Brown. She knew her.
Wow. How
and then
special.
At the end of the show, she said, where's the girl? Where's the girl? I thought, I'm not a girl, I'm an old ducky, but it was just so lovely.
So you got to meet Miriam.
Absolutely, and she just then promoted it on social media. She was fabulous.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those wonderful things that happened to you as
yeah.
as an actor.
Did you find it ever physically or mentally demanding to play a role on stage by yourself for a whole evening?
Yes, you do. It's the emotional. It's kind of. You have to be emotionally very relaxed and very fit physically. It's the double edge of being able to carry, because it's the vocal work. And with Coral Brown, it was a lot of information, lots of different characters.
Yeah.
And it was an hour and, I don't know, an hour and 20 minutes or something. And you have to keep that energy soaring all the way through. And that's where you need the fitness, vocal fitness, emotional fitness, being emotionally ready for it. Sometimes I wasn't.
Yeah.
And I have to call for a line early in the piece.
Yeah.
And it was devastating, but then you've just got to get past it and move on.
Yeah.
And that was very, very important for me to really work through that and not lose confidence.
Yeah. Would you ever do it again if you could?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No worries.
Yeah, wow, that was, yes.
Because it's kind of like doing playing Wimbledon, or it's
like your dream role.
Yeah, well, it's the top of your game. You have to be at the top of your game. So you want to be there to meet the target, to meet the demands, and it's the most exciting thing to do. It's really exciting. Because you're surfing. If you're really on top of it, it's like surfing the wave.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Now, I was lucky enough to see you in the Children by Lucy Kirkwood here in Adelaide a couple of years back, alongside Tina Burchell and Terence Crawford. Did you enjoy that role?
I loved that role because it was so demanding. It was, again, being on stage for the whole thing, and having two other people, you really are working in an ensemble in a very special way, and you have to support each other dynamically. And if one is kind of a little bit insecure or vulnerable, you've got to actually give that person an enormous amount of energy to get them through that next little glitch or whatever it might be. That text was just dynamite to do because it was very particular. You cannot drop one single word because that text relies on that to be exacting. And so it was really, Corey McMahon did a fabulous job at keeping us all on track. And the audience's reaction was just fabulous. I came out one day and the audience had gone, and I was really, it was like the end of a 3-week run or something, and I was thinking, oh great, I can relax now. And I saw this woman coming up along the outside the theatre, and she ran into me and she just hugged me and just held me, and it was really very moving. It made me feel, because something happened to her. Something happened to her, and that's what you get when you sort of inside something and you've made a connection to the audience. And if you can connect with one person, it was just beautiful. You just have this experience. It's kind of you go, oh, okay, that worked. Yeah, that worked for that one individual. It was really meaningful.
And had you worked with Tina or Terence prior to that? You had.
I'd worked. Well, Terence was at the head of the University of Western Sydney when I worked with Celeste. So he was running that school, and he's a fantastic teacher, Terence Crawford, in his other life. But he's a wonderful actor. I love him, and I've had quite a lot to do with him in little things over the years in regards to that. But Tina Burchell, she and I did a cabaret at Kinsella's called 2001: A Postcode.
Oh, wow.
And I just adored her. I just thought she was just so funny and gorgeous, and her femininity is so extreme. It's just a celebration of being a blonde and female. She really gets into that sort of whole thing. And I love that. And I did a film after doing that show called M.O. Rua, and I used her as a model. I've never told her that, but I did. Because I just thought she was so great in the sort of, she just runs with the whole thing, and she's got such light and warmth. So I have worked with her, and I've been a friend of hers for a long time. So it was gorgeous.
Now, later in the year, you're doing a Heartbreak Choir here in Adelaide at the Dunstan Playhouse. What are you most looking forward to about that production and the role you're playing, of course?
Well, being the choir master, I'm learning music and learning a lot about that aspect of it. But this character is kind of, she's a psychologist by trade, and so she has some of those elements, but she's trying to wrangle this extraordinary beast, which is a whole lot of people who are trying to stay in the choir or not. And so that's where the comedy comes from, of keeping people under control with their language, but she's kind of there for the whole time, and it's again about keeping that buoyancy, keeping the light, keeping the energy. It's all about energy. Theatre work is all about, you can actually feel it when the circle's working with the audience.
Yeah.
It's you put out, you connect with the audience, and then they come back to you, and it's a real circle of energy. They give it back to you.
Yeah. What do you most enjoy about performing?
Again, it's about actually balancing. When you see a great work of art, you get a sort of sense of balance, of harmony. It's finding the elements that you need for that particular role to make it work, in the sense of finding the harmonics, finding the note. They talk about, how does this character speak? What are their, their mechanisms? How do they operate? But in the mechanics of doing those roles, you actually have to garner all your skill sets and get them in place so that you've got use, you can actually have access to them. If you're highly anxious, which I can get, if you're really overwrought, or if you're nervous, you tense, you tighten. And so it's actually making the work, you're working on yourself all the time to try and keep yourself open and free. And that requires a whole load of things like meditation, exercise, breathing, a lot of elements you've got to put into place, and you've got to do that work. Otherwise it doesn't work. And you say, oh yes, I'll do that. But you can't just sort of put it off. You've actually got to put the work in. And engaging with all the technical elements, which essentially for the theatre, it's got to do with your voice and your body, being in your body, being connected and present. Yeah. And that's quite hard work when people around you are continually engaged in screen and these little screens and not connected. Yeah. You've got to sort of show the way, of be the hero and actually allow yourself to be open and free. It's all very well. It sounds like a quip, but it's actually, you've got to, that's what you've got to do. Ground yourself. Yeah. Ground yourself often. Yeah.
Now, looking at your entire career so far, is there one thing that you're really proud of, or something that you just very, very happy and proud of that you've done?
I suppose everything has. I can't, pinpoint anything that stands out, because it's a kind of, you're actually building something, and when you're building something, you're building a career, I suppose you might say, but you're also building the kind of strength, the core of something, which is to develop all those skills that I've been talking about to be able to sustain and continue the work. When you get older, of course, you have to deal with all sorts of other things, which is, you're not as capable of keeping the emotional range contained often, because you just don't have the hormones. So you have to do other things too. So every single thing you do is important, and nothing, the Dish and Frontline were incredibly important, but so was Emma Ruo, so was, most definitely Coral Brown.
Yeah, of course.
She was really important, because they bring you up. They bring you into sharp relief, and you've got to meet it. You've got to meet the character. Yeah. So they're all, I can't sort of pinpoint anything that's, the dish was beautiful because I was allowed to play and, you know, Rob Sitch, it's the relationships you develop with people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Now, at the end of each episode, I ask a question to ask the next guest. Now, our last guest was Jackie Phillips, and her question was,
what do you think is the solution to the world now?
What a question.
Far out.
Yeah, intense. Heavy question.
The heavy question. I think we're in a very, very powerless position in regards to, you know, the environment, the social contract with each other, care of others. I think it's because of social media has cut people off. Watching my grandchildren not be able to use the screen because they've been told, no, you can only have this amount of time. And then the kind of the desperation because they're addicted to the screen. Yeah. I think that's really a big problem for a lot of people. And the imagination suffers. I just remember seeing my nephew sitting with his little screen, listening to music. So he was listening to something, and it was the great song out of Moana, that beautiful film. And his little hands, when the singer went into a sort of an extraordinary note or took you across the sea, his little body was just shivering with excitement. And what I'm afraid is now with the changes that are so impactful and so fast, they're just coming at us at the rate of knots, is we'll lose that. And that's my fear, is the imagination. And with AI, I'm terrified. I'm terrified because, you know, intellectual property is precious, and it's valuable, and it's meaningful. And we lose that. If we lose the capacity to have any value put to that, then what are we doing? You know, and that's where I think the arts is kind of at a bit of a risk.
Yeah, and as an actor or a voice artist or anything in the arts, really, what's going to happen? You know, it's scary.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Are you worried about it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, when you can have, are we going to have movies one day just without actors? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is that where we're going?
Well, then what's the point of being human?
That's
like,
exactly.
How do we interrelate? You know, what do we explore? So yes, it's changing dramatically. I get angry with the big tech operators when they say, "Oh, look, we're just get over yourself. You know, it's no big deal. You know, it's not worth that much. You know," and you just think, well, how has your life actually progressed? You've been valuing everything you've been doing, and now you're just negating a particular aspect because it suits you, and you're just going to make so much money out of it. And so that's what I really resent. Yeah. And there doesn't seem to be any protest here about these huge facilities that are going to use enormous amounts of water. We don't have water, you know what I mean? And you just think, wow.
Yeah, it's a scary time, that's for sure.
I reckon.
So that means a question for the next guest. We don't know who it is. It can be a question about absolutely anything. A question for the next guest.
If you could invent a role for yourself, what would you like to do?
Yeah, I like that. And for yourself, if you could invent a role, what role would you invent?
Well, there's a great book that I love called Wifedom by Anna Funda, and I would like to produce it and actually create a whole team of actors to play the role of George Elba's wife, and I'd like to be one of those. That's what I'd like to do.
Now, my final question for you is there anyone you think that would be good on Let's Chat Showbiz in the industry?
Oh, there's hundreds.
There is.
Thousands. Richard Roxburgh.
Yes. Yeah. I'd love to have Richard on.
Oh, he would come.
Did you see him in art recently?
No,
Oh,
no.
yeah, I saw it. It was very
Yeah, no, he's very special. I
Yeah.
think he's wonderful.
and done an
An
unreal
enormous
career.
amount of work, and Rake was so extraordinary.
You were in Rake, weren't you?
Yeah, I just had a little bit in Rake.
Yeah.
No, I think he's really masterful and a lovely person and very interesting.
Very
Of course, there's so many.
There is. No,
There's
there
so
is.
many.
Yeah.
And young ones that are coming up through the ranks. I think that would be good. But because you're in the world of as an older person, you're not connected to those people unless you go into the work with them.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of our chat. Thank you so much for my time.
Thank you. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want more episodes of Let's Chat Showbiz, you can follow along on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Instagram, TikTok, and even Facebook for all you oldies. See you next time on Let's Chat Showbiz.